Hey everybody, this is Anthony Vandegrift with Endtime Ministries, and this is Prophecy in the News. Today I want to talk to you about who the Antichrist will be. A lot of people have an accusation or a guess of who they think it is, and honestly, somebody is probably bound to be right. But today I want to take you through what the Bible says about the Antichrist, the descriptions given about him, so that we can have a good idea as the times progress. I'll go ahead and tell you, I'm not going to tell you who the Antichrist is, and I'm not going to tell you who I think it is, because I don't know who it is, and I don't even have a guess. I'm just going to tell you what the Bible says. So let's start in Daniel chapter number 2. Remember, we see the statue with the head of gold, the arms and breasts of silver, the belly and thighs of brass, the legs of iron, and the feet of iron mingled with clay. We know, without going too much into that for the sake of time, we know that the feet of iron mingled with clay represents the Holy Roman Empire. This is going to be the last world government before Jesus Christ returns. That's where the Antichrist will come from. We have a good description of this in Revelation chapter 13. We see the lion, the bear, and the leopard. Great Britain, Russia, and Germany all culminated with this beast. So we can look to Europe mainly to see where he's going to come from. That's the region of the world that we can keep our focus on. The other thing is we can go to Daniel chapter 7 to learn some details. In Daniel chapter 7, we learned that he will have a mouth speaking great things. So probably he will be very eloquent in his speech. He will be very impactful in the words that he uses. Someone that we could think of that's very similar to this now would be President Obama. Some people criticize him because they say that he only reads off a teleprompter. In spite of that, if that is the case, he's very good at speaking. He's a very good speaker, and he's very eloquent. He's very impactful. Someone else who was like this was Adolf Hitler. So the Antichrist will have similar characteristics of both of these men. We also learned that he will be more stout than his fellows. Whether that is in size, whether he will be a bigger man, or whether he will be a tall man, we aren't sure what exactly that means, but something about his stature, something about his build will cause him to stand out from the rest of the group. And another thing in Daniel chapter 7 that we learned is that he's going to come up among 10 kings and uproot 3. So we can look for this to happen again in the European side of the world because that's where he's going to be coming from. So he'll come up with 10 from that area and uproot 3 of those. So we can keep our focus over there. We can also learn some things by going to Daniel chapter number 8. And I'm going to read to you verses 23 through 25 real fast. It says, "And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper in practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand." One thing that stands out to me here is that he's going to destroy by peace. I believe it was Mikhail Gorbachev who wrote in his book that we would have to extirpate all those who are religiously exclusive and all genocide in order to have world peace or a world government. Essentially, that's what he said. So the Antichrist will probably embrace this policy. He will probably, for the sake of peace, kill off people in order to have it, whether you be someone who's religiously exclusive and say that Jesus Christ is the only way to salvation. If you believe that and you go against his policy, he will probably, by peace, for the sake of peace, kill you and destroy many. So that's what this is saying. This is something that we can look for. Earlier in this chapter, we also learn that he's going to cast the truth to the ground. He's not going to stand for what the Bible teaches. He's going to magnify himself as God eventually, and that is something that he'll probably have to have some knowledge of. But overall, the message of the Bible, he's going to pervert that. He's going to cast it to the ground. He won't stand for it. In Daniel chapter 11, we learn a lot about the Antichrist, who is essentially the king of the north. But there's something that stands out in this chapter that I want to point out. It says that he's not going to regard the desire of women. A lot of people take this and say, oh, the Antichrist is going to be a homosexual and he's going to endorse homosexuality. The Bible does not teach that he's going to be a homosexual. It doesn't teach that he's going to endorse homosexuality. Could he endorse homosexuality? That's a possibility. Will he be homosexual? We don't have a clue. But this doesn't say that he's not going to desire women. He's not going to regard the desire of women. The desire of women is to have children. So the Antichrist will probably establish some policies that prevent women from having children or more than one child, or he will be someone who enforces abortion. He may think that that's something that people should do, and he may, encourage people to have abortions. So we can look for this as well as another detail. Wrapping up here, we can go to Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. We learn that he will be among a group that is going to confirm the covenant. This is talking about the covenant God made with Abraham back in Genesis 15:18. Essentially, he's going to cause the borders of Israel to be established, and he's going to create a sharing arrangement on the Temple Mount. He will be in the group that does this, whether he stands out from the group and talks to them about this, or whether he is amongst a group of people who all speak up for this, and essentially they confirm the covenant. We don't know. We may know who he is at that point. We may not. But multiple scriptures go to this next point. 3.5 years later, he's going to go up to the temple. He's going to cause the sacrifices to cease. Sacrifices will begin after the covenant. He's going to go up and he's going to cause them to stop, and he's going to fulfill the abomination of desolation. This is when he claims to be God, and this is when he truly reveals himself. So that's the event to look for to know for sure who he will be, the abomination of desolation. So these are some descriptions, some details that the Bible gives us about the Antichrist. So when we're trying to evaluate who it may be, we can go back to these, we can look at these and make sure that our assumption is in line with what the Bible teaches. And that's how we'll know for sure who the Antichrist is. Again, I'm Anthony Vandegrift with Endtime Ministries, and this has been your Prophecy in the News.